Oh,
Hey, what's up, brother?
we are live. Well, so how you feeling, dude? You were out sick last week.
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling better. Yeah.
Good. Happens sometimes. So I love this title, and the reason I like this title is because we, as people with ADHD, constantly get told that we're lazy. Maybe some of that's true. Could be, right? I mean, I'll be honest. I'm lazy about certain things. If I don't really want to do it, I it probably looks like I'm lazy. But I would argue, not even argue, statistically, it shows that we have a smaller prefrontal cortex, and so sometimes we just here's a great example. And I explained this to my wife yesterday. I said, "Listen, I said, um, I said, if I open the refrigerator and I pull something out, right, and I use it, and I don't put it back in the refrigerator and I set it down, I've talked about this before, in my brain, I've checked off the task. Even though the task really wasn't finished, I was just finished with it. Does that make sense? So it comes
Yeah.
across as being lazy, but really it's just maybe it's lack of attention. I don't know what you
Attention to
call it.
detail.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple different ways to take this, right? And I like this topic anyways because I think that the majority of people are pretty lazy. You see that legislation or that talk bubbling up in California of reducing it to a 32-hour work week, which I think is hilarious because first thing that goes through my mind is everybody that I know that's winning and dominates, they don't think about that they work 32 or 40 hours. Sometimes they work 20 hours, but usually they work 60 hours. They don't really think of it like that. And their work life and their passion and their home life are all intertwined together. So they might go to dinner with business friends. They might be like me, people at my wedding I've done business with, or you look at people I hang out with and we have done partnerships together, back and forth. And I look at that and I think they're just appealing to the general lazy masses. I think it's interesting because people like me, people like you, our friends, it's just a bigger chance to dominate, right? The people that are pushing that out, they already know successful people don't work 38 and then 40 and they become like, God tier entrepreneurs or whatever. If you're watching that clock, it's probably because you're underperforming. And the whole concept of laziness is really humorous to me in general, right? Because it's personal. You look at what somebody else does, and I know a boomer looks at somebody and they're like, they're just on the computer all day. They're lazy,
Right.
they're not doing anything, right? And you're like, yeah, I just did $3 million in sales, right?
Right.
Oh, in my day, we were in our Buick Skylark and ate McDonald's and we drove around town and we knocked on doors and we called and cold called. Like, yeah, that's great. Like if you want to do that, that's great too. But both people think that either one is not working. So like laziness is interesting. Your kind of executive function example, totally true, dude. Totally true. What I think is that discipline breeds success. And that,
Hands down.
yeah, hands down. And I know that you do all kinds of things that other people don't. So I wouldn't really call you lazy because you exercise once or twice a day, right? You have routines and habits and things that you do to keep you motivated. And, you listen to audiobooks, you read, you do a bunch of stuff, personal development stuff that no lazy person does those things, right? So
That's
leaving the
fair.
milk out, like it's not fair to call you lazy. It's an executive function issue. So um, I do think that on the outset, it's easy to look at ADHD people and say they haven't done the tasks, so they must be lazy. Well, they're procrastinating, or
Yeah.
they've forgotten, or things are taking too long because they're halfway finishing 20 things instead of getting one thing done. And right, like we've talked about this before, that's why I write down the thing that I'm actually working on right in front of me. If anybody's not using that, dude, you're missing the boat. Sounds
Yeah.
stupid. That technique works. But Corey, all of these pieces, because I'm watching what you do, I watch what some of our other friends who are very successful and of course have ADHD as well, what they do. And it always boils down to some kind of habits, discipline, and rituals. What do you think about that?
I think that for me, it's interesting because discipline it's not something that necessarily comes like naturally for me, but what it does for me, discipline's almost like a challenge, right? For me, I like discipline because it makes me feel like I'm accountable. I guess if you want to say that, that's the best way I can explain it. Which I don't like really feeling accountable typically, but in the sense of discipline. For example, like we're doing 75 hard right now, and like whatever we've both done 75 hard. You exercise twice a day. It is what it is. Third time, not a big deal. But um, but there's still a level of discipline that comes. It's not like I roll out of bed every day saying, "Oh, I can't wait to go work out twice." That is absolutely not the case. In fact, I loathe it typically. And so, but there's a level of discipline that I needed to get back in my life, and so that's why I decided to do this again. And so I think it's important because if you have discipline in one area of your life, you'll have discipline in another area, and vice versa. If you're lacking in an area, you're probably going to be lacking in a different area. So if it's something in your personal life, you're if you're lacking something in your personal life, you're probably lacking something in your business life. Just like we talked about, when if you're cheating on your wife, right, you're probably not a great business partner either,
Yeah.
right? Most likely. I mean,
I have found that to be true every time. So that is the case. That's a core value misalignment, right?
absolutely. No matter what you say, right? It doesn't. I
Yeah.
mean, you can say give all the excuses in the world,
Yeah.
1,000%. But here's the other thing. You mentioned this a second ago. You mentioned procrastination, and for me, I do procrastinate 1,000%. But this is part of the reason why I work better under pressure. I work better when I know my back's up against the wall. I don't know why. I don't know that I necessarily enjoy it, but clearly I must enjoy something about it because that's always how it goes.
Yep.
Always.
Somebody asked me uh, what my secret to getting things done was. I said, always be doing something at the last minute.
Yeah.
Now,
Always.
I'm not saying rushing it or half-ass, but what I do is give artificial time constraints. I'm only going to work on this for half an hour. I'm going to get this done or as much of this done as I can within this hour time frame. And then I stop working on it. So time blocking. But I also, so in project management, this is a technical thing. This works. This is what I'm saying is that this actually does work. Is amateurs front load their tasks. They say, okay, right now I can work on this for an hour and then I can do this and then I'll be done on Tuesday. Pros, they do reverse chain scheduling. So you say like, okay, well, if my review meeting is at 1 o'clock on Wednesday, what am I going to do at 12 o'clock on Wednesday? What am I going to do before? And we work backwards. And we load all of our schedules backwards. So we're not doing a bunch of stuff. Because otherwise, dude, you're like working on something and then it just sits there. And
Yeah.
you lose the fire. You lose the common thread. You lose the focus. And I think everybody with ADHD can figure this out. But you think about this in sales. Like, what are you going to call a lead and then wait 6 months and then be like, oh, like I need to call leads. It's like, you know what I mean? Is what's more effective is saying, I'm going to make a call here and there and scatter it all around, or say like, hey, I'm going to have discipline and I'm going to make this a challenge for myself. And I'm going to put constraints on it is that I'm going to make my calls Wednesday at 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Because I know that people are kind of winding down the day. This is their hump day. This really works for me for this flavor of person. I've had success here statistically, or I feel like this is a good time for me. So I'm going to make 5 calls every Wednesday at 3 o'clock. And you're not going to stay there till 6 o'clock and talk to people. You're not going to stay on the phone for 15 minutes or 20 minutes with somebody. You're going to dial until you have 5 people that you've talked to. And you put those constraints on yourself and say, and then I have to leave by 4 o'clock. I have to leave the office. I'm leaving. And so you do this the last minute, last thing before you go, and you put that sense of urgency on it, because successful people they act with urgency. They're in a hurry, right? Dude.
Yeah.
So I say this jokingly is like, if you want to get things done, more things done, do it all at the last minute, and people like chuckle. But I could break down for you a whole book of why this works.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And it's a little bit more exciting. So maybe you'll get your ADHD brain to focus a little bit under that pressure, right?
Absolutely. So I'll tell you another thing. You mentioned, well, if you're going to do whatever the thing is, I'm going to do it every Wednesday at 3 o'clock. Because that's when I've had the most success. What I've also found for me is kind of the flip side of that. Like if I say, well, I'm going to go do whatever. I'm going to go run and get my pants fixed at the freaking laundry, which is supposed to have been done 3 weeks ago. And it's still in the back of my car. And so I say to myself, I'm going to go do that thing today. And then 3 weeks later, we're talking about it. What I could have just said, I need to go do that thing right now, because I know if I go do it right now, it'll be checked off the list and I won't ever have to fuck with it again. Instead, I say I'm going to do it tomorrow. And so if I have to act, sometimes I have to act right now or it won't get done.
If I do that, then I'm doing a whole lot of things right now. And my power list items, my 3 to 4 or 5 things that I want to get done for the day won't get done. I'll get a lot of things done. If you need to do that, then make sure you finish the thing. That's the biggest piece. Here is my mantra for this. And it's something that I have to tell myself because I'm not naturally the best at this, right? Again, like understand that the premise of our show is to turn these issues into your superpower. And I just want to share lessons that I've learned, not because I'm smarter than you or I'm better than you, but because I intentionally work on these, because otherwise I'd be horrible. All the value in life is in finishing something, right? So we get that rush of excitement trying a new project. We get that lull of kind of, oh, this is harder than we thought, or this isn't as successful. And then it starts to work. There's something in your brain that says, I'm really close to success. I'm going to stop working on this.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know that this is true. It's true for a lot of people, but it's very true for people with ADHD. You're very close to success. And it's not that you're afraid of succeeding. Corey, you're not afraid of money. You're not afraid of succeeding. Right. But people get really, really close to being successful. And then they say, I'm going to do something else.
Yeah. I've run into this. Why?
Yeah. And then from the outside perspective, somebody's like, man, that person's lazy. They're never getting anything done. It's like, man, they're working their ass off to not get stuff done. This is what I see.
Like, but with like great intention, like full, like the best intention of making it happen. Right. And
yeah,
but intention's great, but it's not going to get you to the finish line.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I say I have to do this thing right now, I'm motivated to do it. That's why I like my strategy of I write that thing down. I just write it down. The other strategy is when those like other, say, spurious thoughts, those things that pop into your head, you're like, I can't do that right now. I write that down small and to the side.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So if you look, and I kind of have some examples, I don't want to really share it on screen, but I have a piece of paper. It has my list, my to-do list for the day. If you follow Andy, that's your power list. There's a bunch of different strategies that people use. And then on the right side, I have where I have my little pop-up thoughts. So the problem that you have, Corey, and a lot of our listeners have, is those things pop in their head and they pop out, or they pop in their head and they say, I got to do that right. I got to check my email right now. I got to send that email. I got to send that text message. They do that thing and then they stop working on the thing that they're working on. So instead, I just write it down smaller and to the right. That's the future. And then down at the bottom half of the page, I write the thing that I'm working on right now, big. And when I'm done with it, I cross it off. I write the other thing that I'm working on. If something is important that happens, like somebody comes in and says, you know, my ass is on fire, then write that down. That's the thing we're working on. As a business owner, I think everybody understands that power list, if you could get 8 things done, that's why you write down 5, because there's going to be 3 things you never thought was going to happen that are on your plate for the day, right?
Yeah. So to be clear, like when I was thinking, I was really referring more to like my phone charger. Like I'll look at
Mhm.
my phone charger and I'm like, I should probably grab that now and
Yeah.
take it upstairs. And I'm like, nope, I'll get it. I'll remember it. So like, it's not really like a business thing because I've implemented the same thing that you. I mean, I'm not near as good at it as you are, but I have like I have my notes.
Mhm.
So and it does work. You're right. Absolutely works.
Yeah, I'm just saying you can phone charger yourself to death, right? You go wandering around the room and be like, oh, now I can do this and I'll get a drink and now I gotta, I'll go make myself a shake. Oh, I should do this, I should do that, and you're just kind of spinning around, not getting
Yeah.
anything done. And people associate this with ADHD, but then, dude, I talk to neurotypical people. They don't get anything done anyways. They just spend their time like chit chatting or just browsing around on the internet aimlessly, as well. So I think in general, people don't do a whole lot of stuff.
Right.
They're not working as hard as you, man, is what I'm saying. Is people are not working as hard as you. You feel like you're frustrated, you're not getting stuff done, but you're still doing something, right?
Constantly, constantly. But yeah, dude. I think this is a really good topic. I think it's really important for people to pay attention to this because everybody that should be listening to this has this exact, this fucking pinball machine in their head, constantly pinging around with ideas. Right?
Yeah, I like this so much that I'm really going deep into productivity and all of the other pieces. I don't want to reveal too much that are associated with that. And I've been kicking around that brand idea for about a year. You know that, and
Hmm.
looking at this and finding who is really smart in this space, who's really serving this space, like who's got the great program, who's got the great position, who's writing the books on this, and you can go very, very deep. But uh, when you look at what is a commonly accepted life and commonly accepted behaviors, people don't live a focused disciplined life. We live the normal person today lives a life that if you were to dial back 20 years or 30 years would be considered neurodivergent, extremely distracted, extremely anxious, um, filled with frustrations. And I find that fascinating, man. I think that the world is built to distract you. And with ADHD, that heightened perspective, the tools that you need to install, like not software, but the software of the mind, right? The ideas, the um, systems, processes, behaviors, habits, discipline that you install is custom built to defeat the world that we live in today. Because if I were to go back into the 90s and say that every second of the day you're being bombarded by an ad, by a phone ringing, something beeping, somebody wanting something, there isn't 100 channels, there's 100,000 channels, and there's 100 places where those 100,000 channels live. uh, they would think that you're talking about idiocracy, right? They would think that you were talking about some kind of science fiction thing, but we live through it like it's normal. But our brain's ability to have executive function, to actually have cognitive clarity to perform is intensely under attack. So what we're talking about this show, dude, I think even if you don't have ADHD, we live in an ADHD world.
Hell yeah, dude. 100%.
Yeah.
You know this. It takes 20 minutes. If you get a ding on your phone, it takes about 20 minutes to get refocused on whatever you were doing. Well,
Yeah.
everybody knows that phone, if it's on and if it's not controlled, definitely dings more than three times an hour, or it would if that sound was on,
My
right?
God. Yeah.
Huh. So, like, dude, turn the ringer off. You have to do it. You have to do
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
this is
Apple
double edged
has
sword.
they have the geolocation focus mode. Turn that focus mode on, man. Put your home mode on. You don't need that. Nothing important is happening that can't wait, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, 100%, man. So I mean, you know me, like, dude, I'm getting a ping every minute.
Yeah, I believe it.
every minute. That's why I'm not on IG anymore. I don't
Yeah,
care, right? I don't care about that. I'm focusing on the one thing that I'm trying to get done. I got my big list written down. I'm focusing on those tasks. I don't need that distraction. Or I tell people like I don't have a phone at work, so my cell phone doesn't work
right.
because of the facility that I'm in, and I don't have a phone at my desk. Dude, what do you think people's first reaction to that is? They're like, I wish
What do
I
you
could do
think?
that.
Yeah. How do you do that? That's
How,
probably, yeah,
well, how is the right question. I wish I could do that is always the wrong thing to say.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Never going to get there wishing.
Yeah.
100%.
But yeah, like I think the laziness conversation, this is amazing, man, because it it is really easy to confuse laziness with a cognitive issue. It's really easy to confuse laziness with hiding from anxiety, right? If you're sitting there watching TikToks and watching reels to pass time, from the outside, understand that nothing is happening. From the inside, your brain's firing on all cylinders, dopamine like crazy. You know you're not getting anything done, but like it's kind of just it's very comforting, right? It's very addictive.
Very
Yeah.
addictive.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially for people like us, because I think, everything's so, that's why TikTok's like awful for people like us,
Yeah.
because, constant, it's constant movement.
Yeah.
And yes, dopamine hit for sure. It's all
Yeah,
with it. It's all it is. So,
man.
yeah, dude, I get sucked into it from time to time, but I don't, I really don't turn it on during the day because I just can't do it because I know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, I'm not going to do it. Just can't do it.
Yep.
So, anyway, all right, dude, this has been great. It's been a good conversation.
Yeah, man. I want to figure out a way that we can dive in deeper with our audience and really share some tools, maybe some templates, or get some conversations going. So I want anybody that's listening, well, one, they should be in one of our groups or follow us on Facebook or Instagram, but message Corey because we're always doing something a little special, or I'm always releasing little templates or have webinars going. And we're kind of thinking about what would that look like to put something out. Again, pretty sales specific, but really this is creating a good foundation for how to be so you can be successful. We're not really talking about sales tools specifically, but how those tools then align to the tools that you need for executive function, for focus, for to reduce anxiety, and then how does that work in your life. So it's more of a kind of a broader, more holistic approach. But yeah, let us know what those struggles are. What are those pain points? What's the big deal issues? Message Corey and we'll work on putting something out.
Yeah, dude, I think that's
Free
really
mini
good.
course,
Yeah,
webinar, something like that. I don't know. I feel pretty strongly about this. So
yeah, and I think that people also they're going to get more. As you said, it's going to be more of a business conversation. So maybe you're thinking about starting a business, or maybe you've already started a business and things aren't going well, or they maybe are going well. You just want to learn a little bit better about it. The chance of us not diving into that conversation would be slim or none. So
yeah,
yeah, so yeah, let us know, message me, and we'll put something together for you guys.
boom.
All right, thank you, brother.